Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk briefly about exercise. I was a little hesitant about this podcast episode because there's just so many influencers out there already talking about exercise. I'm like, what am I going to say that's different about it? And I guess what I'm going to say is that let's just take a step back and come at this from a really pragmatic, practical approach. The amount of exercise people need in terms of optimal health is still a very debatable thing in terms of long-term health. There's some cardiologists that have been coming out and then saying that you can actually overdo it. You can overstrain your heart over a lifetime of tons and tons of exercise, that you're not necessarily better off in terms of longevity and health when you're in your 80s if you exercise like crazy your whole life. So there is a balance to the idea of exercise. Now, so a couple principles that we'll just mention. Like I said previously in longevity, keeping your legs strong, I believe, is a kind of a fundamental piece in terms of activity, in terms of physical health. So whether you bike, you walk, go for a hike, even body squats, just like, moving up and down and having your legs stimulate your leg muscles. Our femur is the longest bone in our body. When we stimulate those muscles, the quadriceps and hamstring around the femur, it tends to stimulate the body to produce, hormones and different chemicals, biochemicals that help with signal the body to keep our bones strong and continue to maintain muscle mass and things like that. So stimulating the legs on a regular basis, within reason, within a balanced approach, I think is a good idea. So that's one thing. Number two is from time to time, being out of breath a little bit is good. Everybody has different cardiovascular levels, and I don't think everybody needs to aspire to be, super fit. I really don't think that's how it works. So I know tons of people, I've worked with a lot of old people in my time, and something I've often asked them, like, what'd you do, and sometimes they did very little exercise, and they lived till they were 95 and died very comfortably, So I think, and I'm a bit of an exercise, I won't say an exercise junkie, but I really like to exercise a lot. But I don't think it's necessarily this magic that I have in terms of longevity. It's just kind of a thing that I like to do. But I don't think everybody has to be doing that in order to sustain a long, healthy life. So, but stimulating our cardiovascular system certainly, I think, has a benefit. Even like once a week, twice a week, doesn't have to be long. We're talking 5-10 minutes, but just a little bit of out of breath. So for folks who prefer to just go for walks or things like that, being a little bit of a brisk walk, a little bit out of breath from time to time, I think is a good idea to stimulate our cardiovascular system. Will support overall good long-term health. So those are the things. Keep our legs strong, a little bit out of breath from time to time are good things. But the basic principle in terms of exercise is simply to keep our bodies moving and not necessarily at a high intensity level. Again, high intensity exercise for the folks who like it, great, go for it, pursue it. I'm kind of in that camp just because I was kind of, built that way. I kind of enjoy it. But again, I've seen a lot of people over the years who have done very well into their older years that didn't do really intense, high intensity exercise, but they were moving, whether they were gardening, they took care, they were puttering around their house all the time. They like to go for walks with their spouse. They like to keep moving. Now, so the basic principle is being overly sedentary is where the problem is. Being not moving can become a problem for our physical body. You look at anything in life, anything in nature, nature is constantly in movement. When we talk about, let's say if you're out in nature and you want to, you need to have drinking water and you don't have a filter or something, like, you're going out for, you're camping and you're out of water and you need some water. What are you going to do? You're going to look for water that's moving in a stream, going down a mountain. So water that's moving is much likely to be healthier for you than water that's not moving in a puddle and stale. Okay. Same thing with our own physical bodies. Whenever blood stops moving in our body, it's a huge problem. It can create clots. They can create all sorts of inflammatory cascades. Our blood that is constantly moving is absolutely necessary for overall health or for life, really. So ultimately, for us in this modern era, the key is how do we keep moving, really? I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to. We have a lot of comforts. We have TV, we have our phones. And that's okay too. It's okay to relax. I'm not trying to say relaxing is a bad thing, but movement is ultimately, I think, when we talk about exercise, it's all about just keep moving your bodies, whether it's gentle exercise, gentle stretching, walks. For those who like it more intense, go play hockey with your buddies, go play sports if you enjoy doing that. But movement, but some people don't want to do sports, and just like putting around the house and shoveling outside or just taking care of things and moving their bodies, that's good. So overall, and really, movement is ultimately always good. Okay, even when we have, let's say, arthritis, like for example, osteoarthritis, a very common inflammatory problem as we get older in our joints. The first line of treatment for any type of osteoarthritis in our body is more movement. Is to keep moving the joints. I have a lot of patients that I deal with chronic pain, and the ones that do the best are the ones that keep moving despite the pain. So sometimes when we injure a part of our body, it is true that we need to rest it. But that truth is very limited. It's usually just in the immediate term. Let's say if you sprain an ankle, you got to stay off of it for a couple of days, but right away you got to move it again. You got to get moving again pretty quickly. So when there's parts of our body that get achy or hurting, it is important to not just look at it, okay, I got to get off of it. It's like we got to find a way to keep that part of your body moving. And movement will actually can help it strengthen it and heal it and things like that. So that's the overall I'm going to say about exercise today. Okay, keep the legs strong, get out of breath from time to time, and just keep your body moving in the way that you find the most enjoyable. And I think you're doing quite well in terms of taking care of your physical body. We don't want to get too concerned in terms of all the influencers out there and these uber fit people and compare ourselves and things like that. It can get overwhelming for our minds, okay? Keep moving, keep your legs strong, get a little bit out of breath from time to time, and you're doing great. Have a good day, folks.